old heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact, don't ask, grab reactions, jacked, attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're just freaked out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now. It's been a minute since I last did a part to this series. So, let's give a brief little recap. Deku, he's currently at the age of 17 years old, and he's gone through trying to master the elements. Deku, however, found that he could not master waterbending, nor could he really even move or manipulate the elements. After a few years of trying, he had to skip it. And in the last part, he mastered earthbending, being able to beat his teacher and, well, at least start learning metal bending. Now, the man explained it to Deku. All you really need to do is be able to bend the material, and you can use your already known knowledge of earthbending the same way. However, the fact is, metal, the way it can be manipulated compared to earth, it seems like it could be more flexible. And really, it is also more precise and deadly. Especially with the way Republic City's police force, they use their metal bending. And Deku, he's already at least well aware of this. And right now, he's had an idea to go back through and re-meet some of his masters. He knows that there's more advanced levels of bending. And upon Deku at least trying to reflect on this, he learned about something. The Children of Ozai, or the Children of Fire. They are a group of firebenders in the Fire Nation that want to see Ozai's dream realized. Cover the world in flames and start anew. It sounds strange in a way. Deku, hearing about this, he thought that this was it. This is his avatar journey. He's going to be stopping this street gang that they could be part of something bigger, maybe? Or at least this is at least a stepping stone. If they're a small-time gang, he can get them moved to the other side and try to find a larger threat. Something that the actual avatar would find challenging. It's just, Deku's been waiting his whole life for it. He's been waiting his whole life to find out about his adventure. Now, with that being said, let us continue. Now, Deku, he's currently in the Fire Nation, and after at least taking a plane, and at least looking around a bit, he does realize a few things. While him and his mother are separated right now, he does know that there's some people eyeing him outside of the airport. And right now it does seem kind of strange. You can tell that they're not regular people. They've got to be benders. And the way they're staring back at him does show Deku that they might be involved. It's a smart idea in retrospect. Ambushing non-benders or other benders outside of an airport. It's a heavy foot traffic area. If you can tell the person's a waterbender, airbender, or earthbender, they'd be forced to turn back here, especially after encountering immediate conflicts from a large group of firebenders. And Deku, whenever he does actually gets out of the airport and notice these men, he does do one simple thing. He does go to just bring up his hand and go to at least snap his fingers, as a flame does shoot out of it. As many of the men, they immediately go from looking at Deku to looking away. Okay, they realize he's a firebender now, and that he's not really a problem they should deal with. However, Deku, he's still very curious. him deciding to walk over and try to talk to somebody. As Deku just walk over to a group of guys, they all do at least turn their heads. Deku bringing his hands up, asking if any of them would happen to know him, at least going to lean in, asking if they know where he can find a group of firebenders he's looking for. You're serious? You a local? No. I've been to the Fire Nation before. I was born in Japan, but I'm a natural born firebender, you know? You don't got a quirk, do you? Nah. Firebender all the way? You know. Travel the world a bit, see the sights, go a few places. I would kind of like to wander. Heard about you guys, and I'm wondering if maybe you might know something. Heard about what? Oh, you know. The children of Ozai? No. As Deku did say those words, the guys, they all do stare back at him. This guy, he's bringing them up right here and now in public. This being where one guy, he actually is going to shove Deku away, talking about how he needs to shut his fucking mouth. And whenever Deku, he does actually step backwards, the guy, he does going to bring up his hands and going to form them in a fist. The guy talking about how Deku, he can't talk about that stuff out in public. If he really was a firebender, or even involved in anything, he should realize how dangerous that is. Okay. Listen, I was just curious if you guys knew anything. I can go somewhere else. You're seriously gonna ask questions, you dumbass? No. As the commotion does start to ramp up, you do actually have where a police officer, they do hear about this. Them walking over and seeing the commotion. Right now it is very funny. The pro heroes, they're out dealing with other things. But right now, these guys, the benders, they're here. And this is actually where the police officer, they do at least go to ask if everything is alright over here. To which Deku and the benders, they all do look at each other. And Deku talks about how, yeah, it's all fine. Just him and some friends goofing around. This being where the police officer, they do just stare at Deku. They look sort of confused for a second. And Deku just stare back at them. Huh. They look a little young to be a police officer, don't they? Let's see. Aren't you... Yes, I know. Know what? Young. I got it. Anyways, I'm going to walk away. And Deku, he does just try to think. So, that didn't work. Alright, well, he'll just take his shit and leave. Deku going to turn and walk away. As this is where the firebender, he does actually ask if Deku, he happens to know anything about him going to say a subject. Deku at least going to stop and turn, as he does talk about how no, he doesn't know anything about that. Seriously? I mean, I just landed out here, dude. Besides, this is my first time in this town. I've heard about it before, but I've never been here. Really? Yeah. So, what brought you here in the first place? Well, actually, I'm trying to master firebending. I've got it down to a pretty good degree, so what I want to do right now is I want to learn lightning. Lightning, really? You know, there are schools that specialize in that, but some of them can be pretty costly. Even then, some of the masters, they don't like teaching that stuff. You gotta know people. And luckily, I know some people if you're interested in that. Really? So, how much would it cost me? Well, it could be free. Called a favor for a favor. However, we gotta at least do one little thing for that. one little thing. We're going to need you to participate in a bit of a competition. You see, we're trying to recruit, and we're looking for strong firebenders. Even then, they have to, you know, measure up. Oh, I see what you're talking about. Deku and the guy continue to talk. As Deku, he actually does do a few things. He does get the guy's number, and then go to take his stuff back to his own hotel room, where he does then head out later that night to actually participate in this fighting tournament, you could say. Very similarly to how in The Legend of Korra they use the elements to fight in that one ring, where you can only use one element at a time and every teammate has to be a different element. This is basically just 1v1 firebending. Or it's like the Agni Kai, if I remember that's the name of it. And this actually does prove to be very, very interesting. Deku can tell the moment that he enters this area that it's actually kind of badass looking. There's a ring suspended up in the air. And right now, everybody there hide up. Well, the fighters, they get put up in the ring, and then one of them comes back down. They'll fall into the water below, or they'll just, give up there. And the winner will come down and move on. So, Deku gets a further explanation. They're trying to find the top 20 to 30 people that are able to be very good firebenders. But even then, really, the boss wants them to find one that would actually perform very well. If Deku can actually get them close to the boss, then he'll do at least something for him. Now, Deku does take a bit of interest in this, and he does actually compete. Him being able to show off his knowledge of firebending. And many different people, they all do stare at Deku. He's not some scrawny guy. You can tell that he's actually a fairly young man. The long hair, and then there's actually the stance he does take up. Many different people, they confuse it. They don't understand why. Deku, he's actually using a style. It doesn't make sense to them. Every bender here, they have their own particular style, but Deku's fitting in with traditions. It's kind of strange, but at the same time, looking at the way he does move, his movements, his actions, they're all calculated, they're all planned, and they're able to counter the attacker. As you do actually where the person, they do actually move to the right, as you send a large blast of flames directly at Deku with the right hook. As Deku just does going to do one thing. He does going to throw out his hands and immediately going to throw down his fist. As he does going to summon a wall of flames and going to pull his arms upwards. As the wall does actually encounter the blast, Deku is immediately going to pull back his hand and charge up some fire. As he is hold before just going to blast punches over and over again, left, right, left, right. As the person on the other side of the firewall, they do dodge out of the way. But as they do go to dodge out of the way of the flames, they do actually get hit by the oncoming force of Deku's flames as they fall out of the ring. And it's actually kind of interesting. Many of Deku's fights, they are well with power and technique. And people, they are very surprised by that. As this what an actual trained not earthbender, actual trained firebender looks like. It's very interesting to them. And right now, they're just waiting. As we actually have in the final matchup, where Deku, he's actually facing off against somebody that does look pretty interesting. They have, a good build. And then there's the way that they actually do face off against one another. Deku, he gets ready, going to bring his hands up into a stance as he does look at the woman across from him. Her actually going to do something different. She goes to bring up her hands and have a stance Deku doesn't recognize. However, Deku, he can tell. She's taking inspiration from at least one of his former masters. The way her feet are planted. They look more like earth bending. And then there's the way her arms are. Let's see, that's what, a water tribe stance? No, it looks more like an airbender stance. But wait. Then there's the way her body is, the way it's facing him. This person knows nothing about bending, do they? As Deku does think that, he does get ready. As the match just starts, Deku going to try and end it very quickly by just throwing a left jab hard. As the person actually going to do one simple thing. They do step forwards onto their right foot and going to put in a lot of force into it. As they do go to bring open their right hand and go to blast fire directly out of their palm, actually being able to knock away Deku's blast. Deku watching as blue flames encounter his own. And this actually has catch him off guard. As the person actually go to lean in a bit more and go to blast outwards with their left arm. As a blue flame to shoot directly at Deku. And Deku, he actually has to go to shift his body in a way to dodge. Deku actually keeping his feet planted as he has to go to move back his left arm. Before actually going to bring his hand over and go to actually try and jab downwards. And just try and do a little bit of freestyling. Now, it's very interesting to many people. You have these two powerful benders. One with blue flames and one with orange. And the two, they are actually starting to face off pretty well against each other. The fight is starting to drag out. And a lot of people, while they were annoyed, they actually were very interested by this. It's new. It's not something they've seen before. These fights will usually last probably 1 or 2 minutes. But this one's already gone over double that. They're closing in on 6 minutes. And right now the two, they are actually almost even. It's very strange. Now, Deku, he is very heavily restricted here. While fire bending is the first element he mastered, there's a bit of a problem with that. He's trying his best to not use the other elements, since he's been using earth for the last couple of years. And now he's trying to do metal bending. Then he was previously trying to do water, then air. And right now, he feels like if he does add air to his firebending, then there is the possibility that he can win. And Deku, he actually has decided to take this chance. As he does start to increase the rate at which he's using his power. As Deku actually is going to send out a left hook this time, it actually does appear that it's faster. And I really do take notice of that. As his opponent, they do go to throw up their hands and try to do the same move Deku did earlier. Trying to create a wall of blue flames as Deku doesn't mean to cock back his right hand. And he actually is going to do one simple thing. He goes to move his legs in an earthbender way. Before actually going to throw over his left arm and go to actually jab it outwards straight forwards. From down towards his gut, outwards past his body. Deku actually using his right arm and going to throw a right solid hook like an airbender. As flames shoot out like a spear. And the moment that actually is happening, actually where the wall is pierced through and jabbed. As the next shot Deku did aim, it actually just punched right through that hole the other spot was at. And the person actually are hit and knocked off of the platform. As Deku does stand there, he does wait. Now, the moment this actually just happened, the person did fall over. A few things happened. Somebody does come running in, and they do shout that the cops are here. And immediately after that, the bending police, they do actually start to raid the place. And whenever it comes down to trying to capture benders and people who may be involved with the Children of Ozai, you do actually have Deku. He attempted to get away with one of the guys. And whenever it ultimately came to the point where, yeah, they're going to get caught, the guy kind of did something a bit selfish, you could say. Whenever they got to a gate and people were jumping over it and helping each other up, and others were just trying to climb it, Deku helped this guy up. Him being able to hop the fence, as Deku, he does go to turn around and try to climb up it. The more Deku actually does, he actually does have something wrap around his right arm. Deku actually being able to turn and say it's a piece of metal. As Deku to just think, asking the guy to not leave him behind. Fuck this, you're on your own, dude. The guy turning to go and run. As Deku, the moment that actually just happened, he does do one simple thing. He does just go to let go of the fence, and he does get to at least bring his hands up. Turning back around and trying to at least tell the person that they have to believe him when he does say this. He's actually undercover. Oh, come on. As if I believe you. The person actually going to have the metal bend around and actually slit up Deku's arm. Before it's actually able to wrap around Deku's other arm, actually down towards his wrist. The moment that actually just happened, Deku's wrist to actually jab together and close. As Deku does go to look down at that. Okay. Pretty good bending, I do have to say so myself. Please. What do you know about Deku going to do one simple thing? He holds out his right hand. And he does actually think to pull away his left hand. And the person they're just standing there kind of confused. Wait, how did you get out of that? Okay, they're actually going to bring his hands back up. Informing her as the metal just start to unwrap around his body, and he actually does have it morph in his hand, and does start to mold it around, that he's trying to explain this to her. He is the Avatar. Now, the person they're very surprised. The Avatar is in town. Now, it is actually quite a surprise. And right now, Deku just talking about how they do need to get out of here. Since if one of those guys do come back, it would be bad if they're caught talking to each other. And the person they actually do decide to take Deku in. Deku remolding, restraint on himself as the two do walk away. Deku and a few guys, they're put together in the back of a van and taken away, as all of them are talking to each other and waiting, as we actually have later with an interrogation room, where Deku, he is staying there, or sitting down, and you do actually have the police officer and a detective inside, along with even the police chief. All of them are trying to ask questions, to which Deku is going to do one simple thing. He unbends his handcuffs and actually is going to break up his hands, as he does start to pull minerals out of the air. Now, Deku does start to at least form together all the dirt, sand, and everything together that is in this room, since it doesn't really get cleaned too often. Along with that, people, they drag in mud and dirt on their shoes a lot. And the moment Deku actually is going to form a small rock, and is going to hold up a flame in one of his hands, people do actually start to believe him. And Deku does at least give them an explanation, as he's tossed back in a jail cell later on, and his cover is somewhat more maintained. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.